Hillary Clinton email scandal. We learned this week some of the emails contain information so sensitive most lawmakers can't read them. Joining me now, two top members of the House and Senate Intelligence Committees here in Washington, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff and in Oklahoma, Republican Senator James Lankford. Senator Lankford, how sensitive was some of the information in Clinton's private emails, and does it represent a security threat if a foreign government was able to get a hold of it?
No, it absolutely represents a security threat. There are about 1,340 emails that we know of so far that had classified information, whether it be sensitive, classified, or top secret. There's been a lot of conversation about what they call SAP Special Access Program information that's also included. It's been referred to as above top secret. It's not above quote-unquote top secret. It's a special compartmentalized top secret information where only certain individuals should be able to see this information. So yes, it is a major risk to have this kind of information outside of a government server.
Congressman Schiff, you generally, I think it's fair to say, played down this story. What about the fact that some of this information on Clinton's private server, we learned this week, was this special access program, a special classification, some say higher, some say just a special classification inside top secret?
Chris, when you read these emails, and I've gone through a lot of them, I think what really leaps out at you is you can see why there would be a difference of opinion between the State Department and the intelligence community about whether they should be classified at all, what the classification might be. So I wouldn't rush to judgment based on the Inspector General's cover letter. I also think that given that none of these were marked classified at the time, there's no reason when you read the contents, I think, for the Secretary to leave the conclusion that they should have been marked as classified. And let me give you an example of why. If I were to send an email to Secretary Kerry, who's on a trip to visit a foreign leader, including an article in the New York Times or some other publication about a Snowden leak, and I'm making this up, but for less purposes, about a Snowden leak, if that email suggests that the Snowden leak is accurate, it might be classified. If it's just to put the Secretary on notice, it may come up in the meeting, but not suggest it's accurate, it's unclassified. So you can see why even among compartmented programs there could be a difference of opinion.
Senator Lankford, not only Congressman Schiff, but and her campaign people are pushing back hard on this whole story. Her spokesman has accused the Inspector General in the letter that he sent, and here it is, to two committee chairmen in the Senate on this subject, has accused the Inspector General of playing politics. Here is that spokesman.
I think that he put two Republican senators up to sending him a letter so that he would have an excuse to resurface the same allegations he made back in the summer that have been discarded.
And Clinton says that this supposedly super secret information was really a New York Times article about a drone program. Here she is.
The best we can determine is that it's likely what they are referring to is the forwarding of a New York Times article.
Senator, let me ask you directly to respond to them and to Congressman Schiff. One, is it just politics? Two, are we just talking about a newspaper article?
No, we're not just talking about a newspaper article. Again, it's the conversation that it interchanges between staff here. This whole Clinton procedure of trying to attack the messenger and to say the messenger must be a member of the right-wing vast conspiracy that's out there that must be trying to instigate something. The Inspector General is an Obama appointee, is doing his job. He's been asked by a committee to keep the committee up to date. He is continuing to be able to keep the committees, both in the House and the Senate, up to date. That is his task. And the Inspector General is not the one that's designating these as sensitive, classified, or top secret. That is within the IC community, or that is within State Department. And even State Department has continued to redact these documents over and over again and say, this shouldn't go out public. This includes methods. This includes procedures. This includes human intelligence. This includes foreign government information. Those are on their face classified information. So if something is sent to the Secretary of State only, or this is foreign information, those are on its face classified. They don't have to be marked classified. It's known that's classified information.
Let me just follow up quickly on this, because our intelligence reporter, Catherine Herridge, has said that some of the information in these emails includes HSC-O, which is about human intelligence operations. Does some of the information that was either sent to Clinton or that she sent back Does it include sources and methods?
I'm not going to get into all of that. For national security reasons, for all of us, we need to stay away from this. Both Adam and I both stay out of what is in all these emails and try to not allude to it. I would just say that is some of the most sensitive type of information that would be out there because people's lives are on the line or sources are on the line. Anything like that is ever covered.
And do you think that lives were on the line, again, without getting into the classification, lives were on the line in some of the information in these emails?
I am not going to get into that for national security reasons for all of these conversations, but I would say anytime any information that comes out that has any human intelligence connected to it or can confirm something that is out there in the public setting that people may wonder about, but they don't know, but once the conversation starts, it confirms it. It tells our adversaries that can get to a private server stored in New York outside the government system. Once they get that confirmation, it does do serious damage to our sources and methods.
Congressman Schiff, I want to pick up on one thing that Senator Lankford said. The Inspector General, Charles McCullough, who sent this information, he wasn't offering it. He was simply reporting what the intelligence community was saying. Appointed by Barack Obama, confirmed unanimously by a Democratic-controlled Senate. He hardly seems like the right person for a political hit job.
Well, I would say this, Chris. You've got several Republican chairs who are actively campaigning against Hillary Clinton and doing investigations of her at the same time. Went to a
Charles McCullough isn't. He was an Obama appointee.
No, let me finish. One of which went to a Trump rally and said his purpose is to defeat Hillary Clinton. These are people who are conducting investigations in Congress of the secretary during the presidential campaign. So I think the Inspector General has to be very careful not to allow him to be used by one political party against another during the presidential race. And I think the Inspector General had to know or should know that when you put an unclassified form, a letter, you have to reasonably expect it's going to be leaked. And that letter, I have to say, was gratuitous in the information it included. It could have transmitted the information from the intelligence community without commentary in it. But by putting that commentary in it, knowing it's going to be leaked, I think the Inspector General does risk his reputation. And once you lose that as Inspector General, you're not of much good to anyone. So I think the Inspector General has to be very careful here.
The FBI is now investigating all of this material, and former federal judge and Bush Attorney General Michael Mukasey had an article in the Wall Street Journal this week in which he wrote this: "It is nearly impossible to draw any conclusion other than Hillary Clinton, knew enough to support a conviction at the least for mishandling classified information." Senator Lankford, if David Petraeus, the general who led the surge in Iraq, if he was brought up on charges for roughly similar actions, what about Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, I'll let the FBI to be able to determine that. Jim Comey has been a very good leader for FBI. He's been nonpartisan in the process. But the real question becomes willfully retained. Did the Secretary of State willfully retain classified information? It doesn't have to be marked classified, but it has to be information that was classified on a non-government entity, on her own computer, or in this case, her own server. This is what Paula Broadwell faced when she had information that she got from Petraeus and kept it on her separate computer. Though she had clearance in the past, it was not kept on a government computer. She was forced to resign and lost her security clearance. No other cabinet official had a private server and kept information. This would be completely unacceptable for the DOD, for the Secretary of Defense to be able to have a private server, because you assume conversations that happen with the Secretary of Defense will be classified. You would assume the same for the Secretary of State, that would be classified. So this issue of willfully retaining becomes the question that Jim Comey and the FBI will have to determine.
30 seconds. Congressman Schiff, is there a criminal case here?
No, there's no evidence that there is. And I think you have to take former Attorney General Mukasey's comments as a Jeb Bush campaign advisor with a certain grain of salt. When you consider the fact...
He is a federal judge.
Well, he's also working on one of Secretary Clinton's opponent's campaign. But when you consider the facts of the Petraeus case, where there was a deliberate decision to share highly classified information with a mistress and was less than candid about it with the FBI, that is a very different fact situation than someone who receives information not marked classified.
But what about this willful retention?
And let me just mention one other thing in response to my colleague's comments, and that is so many of these emails that are now considered to include classified information by the State Department. The State Department acknowledges were not classified at the time they were received by the Secretary, but now marked classified because they might embarrass a foreign government. That is hardly among the most sensitive things.
You understand the fact that whether it's marked classified or not does not alter the question as to whether or not it was classified information.
Oh, I understand it, but the fact that something is classified after the fact is also significant because at the time they were received by the Secretary, they were not classified. Now, some of those...
The Secretary should know what's classified information and what isn't.
Well, if you go through these emails, as I have, Chris, you will see it is not apparent on its face because it often depends on whether something is derived from a classified source or from a newspaper. So it is not as self-evident as you might think.
All right. We're going to have to leave it there. Never expected to settle this today. Congressman Schiff, Senator Lankford, thank you both for joining us today.